Welcome in to our virtual Huddle Up here in the Next Round studio. So excited to be next to my friend, my partner, my confidant, my ally in life and in sports broadcasting, Jim Dunaway, everybody.
I try to describe our relationship all the time, and you know how I battle with being so much older than people. And I always start off with she's like my sister. And then I'm like, she could be sort of like my daughter. Or I don't know. She's a lifelong friend. And I'm so proud of you. I just sent this out on social media, how proud I am of you. I used to be proud of you as a broadcaster. And I don't want to tear up here, right? 1 minute into this. But I'm really proud of what you're doing to help so many people. So I'm really excited about this. We should have talked about this before because we're two criers. You can't get two criers together on one show.
And I'm the ugly crier over here.
Me too. That's why I'm wearing the glasses. I'm so proud of what you're doing and how many people you're helping, and excited to be here tonight to help you out. So I'll talk when you cry and you talk when I cry. How about that?
Oh, full circle moment, y'all. Well, we're here. We might shed a few tears.
Yeah. One thing we will not have is that lady in Baton Rouge with us that night when it was an Alabama LSU game. I think it was the A.J. McCarron to T.J. Yeldon screen pass touchdown.
Yeah.
And the pregame showed of that when LSU fans were still very, very happy. And this lady was very, very happy. And she stood in our shot all night long just staring at us. And we need her to laugh.
Yeah, so. She had the laser eyes going at us. And, of course, we didn't know through all of it, but people behind us were carrying on. Look, days on the road with you, Jim Dunaway, were always phenomenal. And so, my broadcasting career has come a long way, obviously on the sidelines now for ESPN covering college football. I do some gymnastics as well. Believe it or not, I was a gymnast growing up most of my life, so gymnastics was my sport. But I got to be honest, my broadcasting career took off because of you bringing me here to Birmingham, Alabama, taking me around town. I remember having to make that pit stop at Arby's because I couldn't hold it any longer. Got to stop, got to go. And you showed me the way. And it was at one point, Jim, I literally said 4 words. Yeah. We would be analyzing the game and I'd be like, yeah, Jim.
That was the, we got a lot to get to tonight, so sit back. But the very first live shot we did was a primetime game, doubleheader CBS, and the second game was Alabama at Florida in Gainesville, and we were the CBS affiliate here in Birmingham. We worked together. And so we had this show that could have been an hour if the early game, which I think was Auburn and South Carolina, had ended on time. But it kept going longer, and the post game went longer. So our show went to 45 minutes, to 30 minutes, to 15 minutes. And that was, 15 minutes, guys. So we're throwing things away. We're going to do team arrivals. And I was like, okay, it's her first live shot with us. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to set the scene. And then you're going to do Alabama getting off the bus and toss to a Nick Saban soundbite. Okay. Boom. I set the scene. Big showdown at the Swamp tonight. And Lauren, Alabama arrived early. It is a big game, and they did arrive early, and that's about all you said, 4 words. And you just stared at me then, and I was like, all right, here's Alabama getting off the bus. So we'll probably pause a little bit tonight, too.
I've come a long way, my friends. And, we have a great lineup of guests. First and foremost, Jim Dunaway, thank you so much for being here. He's part of the Next Round, host of that. And it's always great to just spend some time in the studio and, great show. And obviously you always do a great job talking sports. And we've got a great lineup tonight of other guests, including Laura Rutledge. She's going to join us from ESPN. I know that she's probably got quite a few bloopers to share with us and some of those frozen moments, although she's a pro and she knows how to get it done. Even when she gets tackled by football players on the sideline, she just pops right back up. And
she's one of my favorite people. And like you, and she is amazing at what she does, but I admire her as much off the field. She's one of my favorite follows on social media because of the wife and mom that she is, and friend and daughter. But I just admire, following her. It's the good side of social media. Is I say hi to her at all the events, like she knows me. But I always, I watch Reese grow up. I watch young Jack grow up through social media, and I just admire, fantastic at broadcasting. Just like you, but you're a better wife and you're a better mom than you are a broadcaster. And what more can you say, right?
Dunaway,
and Laura falls into the same category.
I can't stop laughing. Your glasses are full.
They are because I'm crying.
Oh, goodness. All right. So with that being said, we got a great lineup. Laura Rutledge is going to join us. We're also going to have Kentucky linebacker J.J. Weaver. Super excited to have him on. He's got a great story. Want to share that with you all. We also have Scott Cochran, who is going to join us as well. Scott Cochran was with Alabama strength and conditioning coach, also with Georgia, and he is all in on addiction and recovery. Excited to get his story and lean in on that a bit. And then we're going to talk to Cori Hammond from the Partnership to End Addiction. So great lineup tonight. Stay tuned. We're going to get to it. And also, we got people tuning in.
Yep.
Use the chat function, my friends.
Yeah, we appreciate you in the chat. Please jump in there as CJ has done tonight. Robert has done. Christina has done. Julia has done. Mick just jumping in from all over the country. Thanks for being with us as we celebrate the launching of the book Shatterproof. We'll tell you how you can get the book coming up a little bit later on, but we want to talk about some stories and some of the people that have inspired this young lady and some great people like the one we were just talking about, Laura Rutledge, who you see on ESPN, NFL Live. She's a great host of college sports everywhere. She's on the sideline. She's on Monday Night Football. But she's Reese and Jack's mom, and she's a great wife, and she joins us now. Probably either from a green room somewhere or her beautiful home in Connecticut. Laura, welcome in. How you doing tonight?
In my car.
So great to be with y'all. If you hear something that sounds like stampeding elephants, it's whatever's happening above me in my house. But I just am so thrilled to be with y'all. And I do want to say how much I admire and respect both of you. And both of you are true examples of what's good and right in this business, and could not be more thankful for your friendships.
See, Dunaway, she knows who you are.
No, please, she does not. But it's very nice of her.
Legend. I don't want to hear that. People don't know who everybody knows who Jim is. Okay, come on.
Yeah.
All right, Laura. Well, first and foremost, I know you talked about the stampede of elephants. Look, you're getting ready to kick off the college football season. Life is about to get chaotic. The fact that you signed up for this and said yes, I know life is crazy right now. How do you do it all? I mean, balancing work, balancing motherhood, balancing all the things. Obviously, your show NFL Live, you're traveling to SEC Nation, you're all over the place. Girl, you getting after it. How do you balance life on the road and being with your family? What's the most important thing for you to kind of maintain that balance?
Yeah, I think the reality is I'm not balancing anything. It's never balanced, and it is always a mess. And I think that sometimes on social media and maybe what you see on TV, people are like, wow, this person has it all together. And I am just here to say that I absolutely don't. And that's also okay. And I've had to sort of learn that over the years. I still haven't fully learned it. I would first give so much credit to my husband, Josh. It is like a constant tug and pull of like, okay, what do we need to do today? And how are we going to get it all done? And trying to look at the calendar and figure it all out. And there are so many times where I feel extremely overwhelmed, and I feel like I'm failing at work, and I'm failing at life, and I'm failing as a mom, and all these things. And I always try to, when I'm having those moments, just stop for a minute and say, okay, just let's take the next moment. And I know it sounds cliche and simple, but almost being where your feet are for a second. Sometimes I'll even count like to 10 and just say, calm down. We're going to figure it out. And I think, I'm still trying to manage how to get there, right? And how to be, balanced and be a good mom and a good person at work and all of that. But what I found is that being a little bit more honest about even what you're going through daily is not a bad thing. And it's opened, I think, a lot of great relationships for me. And it's been something that I've found great comfort in, is to just share sometimes with others that it's not going well. And while always being really thankful for everything that I have, I think just sometimes being a little bit honest about how chaotic it is a good thing.
In 17 years, I wish I had a quarter every time I heard Nick Saban talk about be where your feet are to his team.
Yeah.
He said it to us in the media all the time. He told it to me when I talked to him about how my golf score is in the 90s or in the 70s. And he's like, you got to play one shot at a time.
One shot at a time.
I'm interested about surrounding yourself with the right people, because I do think that's so important. You mentioned your husband, Josh, and then at work, it just seems like you have a really good circle of friends, both professionally and socially, at ESPN or in your personal life. How important do you think that is in life just having a good support staff around you.
Yeah, I am nothing without those people around me. And it is, such an inner circle that I'm thankful for. But I think what I found is the best transition in my career where I started to see, maybe a little bit more success, and success can be defined in so many different ways, but was when I really started genuinely rooting for other people to have success. And for me, this is a competitive business, right? And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I've worked my whole life for this. And it's so hard not to compare to others. And I firmly believe that comparison is the thief of joy. Thanks to Eleanor Roosevelt for that quote that I think about daily. But I was doing that. I was guilty of that early on in my career. And when I finally said, no, you know what? That's not who I am. Let me support these people. Let me cheer them on. And what it's done is, I've had some success and I'm so thankful for it. I can't believe it half the time, right? But I've really grown these incredible friendships that I would never want to look back and say, oh, I climbed to the top and I didn't have any of these people. No, to me, climbing to the top is knowing that you're surrounded by people that genuinely support you and that you support them. And that's, on NFL Live, that's been such a key part of what we do with Mina Kimes, who is like my sister at this point, and Dan Orlovsky and Marcus Spears and Ryan Clark. They're like family to me. Truly, that's not made up, when you see us talk about that. And then on SEC Nation, which Lauren has been part of that family before, and she knows how special that group is, and to know that we're returning again another year, and Tim Tebow and I have been doing this for all these years, and Jordan Rodgers and Roman Harper, and of course Paul Feinbaum, who was instrumental in my career. It just all kind of comes full circle with Marty and McGee as well. And for me, I think what I've found now is that no matter at 35 years old, like no matter where my career goes at this point, I can truly walk away at any time being really satisfied with the people that I know are going to be part of my life forever.
Laura, and I love that so much. And believe it or not, actually, be where your feet are is a theme that is in my book. It is quoted by Nick Saban. And something that I learned, right, along the way, because I'm much like you, right? You're in this industry. You feel like you're always chasing that next thing. You always feel like someone's right there behind you, ready to take your spot. And especially as a mom and, having to take some time off, you obviously had Reese right there in the middle of football season, and everyone's like, how are you going to do it? And I remember you just feeding me some advice, talking about that and how you manage that. And girl, you got back to it really quick, but I remember Josh mentioned to me that you took a little extra time off this time with Jack just to give yourself a little breather, which I think was very wise. But being where your feet are and being able to stay away from some of those thoughts of like the what's next and the what's next. And I guess, I would just ask you, take us through a little bit of your journey and where you are driven. Like when you wake up in the morning and you go out there and you do your job, where do you find purpose, joy, and meaning in all of that?
Yeah, that's changed, Lauren. And I'm sure you can relate to this, and both of you can, right? When you have kids, it all changes, right? And that it's, I think to set that up, I would just say that I was always somebody who thought, I don't know if I'll ever be able to have children with this career that I have going. And that was so important to me. And I always wanted children, but I couldn't imagine how it was possible. And even when I got pregnant with Reese, I was telling myself that I had ruined my career. Nobody was telling me that. I was telling myself that. And I was, Josh is a saint because he had to deal with that, for the entire pregnancy with Reese. He's like, no, I promise you're going to be fine. You're still going to have a job. And I'm like, you don't know anything. Pregnancy rage was real. But what it was all of my insecurities were like just coming out all at once. And I was thinking, if I take this time away, the only thing that I felt like I had going for me was that I would always show up and I worked really hard. And I wasn't giving myself enough credit for, some God-given talent maybe, but also some things that I really had worked hard to develop and the research that I put in, the hard work and all those things, I was very much doubting myself. And so I think what happened for me is a very clear shift when I had Reese, and Reese is truly the best thing that's ever happened in my life. I mean, she is the reason why I can even still do this. She's the reason why I do everything. And then to add Jack into the mix, which has been such a joy, and he's just like my heart and soul. It's so true what they say, that your children are like your heart living outside your body every single day. That is what motivates me. That is my sole purpose. And I would say all that to say that I went through much of my time searching for purpose in the wrong ways, like thinking that an Instagram like was a good thing to get excited about, or like, getting a video that went viral or whatever. And I was so unfulfilled by that. And so certainly, even if children are not something that you want to have in life, or even if you're going to go a different direction, or you're not at that point yet, I think just finding ways to really in your life find tangible joy out of things that aren't on social media, or that aren't, what society tells us we need to do. Like, really think, what makes me happy? And I've had to do that many times. And what I found makes me happy is like spending time with my family, but also I love to cook. I love to be outside. I love to travel. These things that I had to really say, all right, let's like rework your brain here, because what you thought was making you happy certainly wasn't. And so now my purpose has shifted. But even prior to that, I was trying to find that shift somewhere, because I felt I was flailing about. And really looking back, I realized that I'm so lucky that I sort of had that mental change that wasn't there before.
You guys are still so early in your journey. Mine are 23 and 19 now. But I remember, I never thought I would get married because I was chasing the career. But then when I met Maggie and we got married, now 26 years.
Oh, congrats.
Thank you. And then when the babies were little, I did the late local, and I just found such joy struggling to get out of bed, but to even just pour cereal in a bowl for them to eat, or to throw in an Eggo pancake and bacon for them. It seems like you start your day with breakfast with the family, no matter what time your work day ends. And it just feels like a centering moment to get the day started with the family, right?
It does. And that's really important to me. There are so many days where, believe me, I am dragging myself out of bed thinking, oh, goodness. I can't even like pick the baby up. I'm so tired. But again, it's always worth remembering, like, this is far beyond what I even thought I wanted in life. And it's such a blessing to be able to do this. And I think, like the reworking of your brain sometimes helps there. And it's something that I think about all the time. If I ever find myself slipping into like a complaining zone, I'm like, no, let's not do this. And you find that your life seems a lot more positive when you think about it that way, right? And I know that may sound corny, but I had to do that for myself, because I was finding way too many moments of complaint and self-doubt and things like that. And so, yeah, for me, getting up and seeing the kids smile in the morning, even if it happens to be 5 a.m. I don't know why anybody wants to wake up at 5 a.m. if you don't have to. So I'm trying to like, figure out why that happens sometimes. But we're playing, and then, trying to be as focused on them as possible. I try so hard to put my phone away. Sometimes I feel like I'm on it too much, just trying to get work done while I'm hanging out with them. But one thing I found that's amazing about children, and it's something that I'm like praying that our children can hold on to, is just that they really value that face-to-face time, and just the learning and the exploring and the imaginative time, where even if it's just a few minutes, even if you only have 5 minutes to sit on the floor with them and do something silly, that matters to them, and they remember that. And so at times when I'm being too hard on myself and telling myself that I'm not doing enough as a mom, and I'm away too much because of my job and things like that, I remember, maybe I can change their day and change my day more than anything with even just a couple of minutes of time spent with them uninterrupted.
Oh, such wise words. I appreciate that so much, and that insight, because I've got a almost 14-month-old in Mason, and same thing. Yes. You get on the road, you come back, and you feel like that 5 minutes isn't enough, but that's 5 minutes, that intentional time where you do put it away. And it's gotten to where even with college football season, I used to always get into the fantasy football, and I'd come home, and of course I know you're rooted in college and NFL, but for me, like Sundays are like my day. I come home, I turn off. I don't even like hardly flip on the TV. I try to, ground myself in
Love
that.
it.
But before we let you go, of course, we said we'd talk college football. We're in the huddle up here, right, Laura? So, college football looking a little different this year. I got to ask you, as you get ready to go on the road, what are you most looking forward to about this college football season, with the landscape just completely looking quite different these days?
It's going to be a totally different year. And I would just say bigger picture, I'm excited that all of us are like alive right now to see this. You know, I
Yeah.
think when the historians go back and do all these documentaries on college football, which we see now, this is going to be a year that they point to as extremely pivotal, and it's going to keep changing, right? But I think we are entering into a new era and a new age, and it's just an era of opportunity. You know, now with the expanded playoff, you can afford a couple losses and still make it in. And then it's kind of like anybody's game from there on out. And for me, I just think the idea of more student athletes getting a chance to show what they can do on the biggest stage makes me really, really intrigued. And if we're talking specifically about the SEC, I would say, you know, as we embark on another season of SEC Nation, we feel like there's a lot of teams in this league that are going to be big time competitors and big time factors on the national stage. I'm going to tell you right now, I think at least 4 SEC teams make it into the playoffs. So that's going to make some people mad. But it's just the reality of it. And I think we live in a world where, you know, if you're in the expanded Southeastern Conference now with Texas and Oklahoma, you have a whole lot to be excited about.
Well, I've got the Gators winning this Saturday, so I mean, I don't try to point Reese towards that helmet in Reese's pick this weekend, but I know she's got the Gators in her heart.
Well, I'll let you guys in on a little secret. We actually just did Reese's pick upstairs, but I wanted to get a little head start because she goes back to school tomorrow. She's going to pre-K tomorrow.
Oh,
so I didn't want her to be too tired tomorrow night, you know, all these things. She's so excited to do it. And, you know, Jack like has a role in it, but he's too crazy right now to sit still, unlike last year when we could just strap him in because he couldn't walk yet. And yeah, you guys are going to be surprised, I think, at what she does. So it's a really fun pick, and we haven't put it together yet. But Josh and I were laughing so hard, we were like, "Oh no, we're gonna get caught," you know, because I filmed the whole thing, so we're gonna get caught in the background laughing. It was a hoot.
Yeah. The best. Well, she's Laura Rutledge. We've loved her for a very long time, and as I said before she popped on, as much as a wife and a mother and her daughter, and as a broadcaster. So thank you for your time. Get back, spend those 5-10 minutes with the kids. We love you. Best safe travels this year, and we'll be watching you. Thank you for your time.
We love you, Laura. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. Love you guys, and thanks for having me.
Yep. Thank you, Laura. And Shatterproof is why we're here. It's out today. We'll tell you how you can order it coming up here in a little bit. But I want to talk to you for a second about what happened. There are some people that may not understand the moment in your life that led us to this book, to this point in your life, why you've dedicated so much of your time in your life to your mission, your calling by God to do this work. And now this book is out, and this is just another stepping stone to saving people's lives. So for those that don't know your story, take me back to that day at Rutgers, when you were a gymnast at Rutgers, when you got that phone call that changed your life.
Yeah. You know, it's been an amazing journey, but obviously one that has been very tragic in many ways and very heavy. I go back to where I was living out my dream as a gymnast at Rutgers, living it up, having the best time, doing what I had dreamed of for so long, earning a college scholarship in gymnastics. You can see some pictures there back in my glory days, going to Rutgers when we were 1-11, but Dunaway, we've turned it around. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Yeah. Yep, in gymnastics. And so, you know, I'm doing my courses, studying, talked to my parents like I always did, picked up the phone, talked to my mom and dad on the phone, and hung up the phone like nothing was wrong, set an alarm clock, and woke up just after 3 a.m. to a phone call from my dad to let me know that my mom had passed away. Very unexpected, very shocking. We had just talked. My mom was 45, seemingly healthy. What happened? Dad couldn't explain it. He said, "Get on the next plane you can. I'll be at the airport to pick you up." And unfortunately that day, it was my Uncle Mike and my cousin Justin that came to the airport to let me know that my dad too had passed away.
So both parents on the same day.
Yep, 5 hours apart. Both of my parents overdosed from prescription drugs. Both of my parents were dealing with chronic pain. My mom had degenerative disc disease. My father had chronic back pain. And, you know, my father also in the military had dealt with some PTSD and struggled with some alcoholism. But, you know, it came to us so shockingly because we had no idea, right? We were living life. We were the all-American family. Everything seemed normal. And my parents were doing everything they could, supporting my brother and I and all of our, our athletics. And my brother was in the Navy, and we were just living life. And you get this phone call, and then not only one parent, but now two, and you've got to figure out how to pick up the pieces. And I think the hardest part for me that we will dive into in this book is the shame that I felt because of how my parents died that day from overdoses.
Yeah. You don't move past that without a close-knit circle of friends and family around you. You have that, and you had that back then. We'll talk about how you survived that moment, and have blossomed into doing this great work and helping so many people. There's another young man who's doing great work and helping so many people. He's J.J. Weaver. He's the linebacker at Kentucky. And it's game week, but it's such an important cause to help change people's life that on game week, getting ready to go into the season, he's taking time out to be with us tonight to talk about his journey and how he's helping so many people. J.J. Weaver's with us now. J.J., welcome in, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How you guys doing?
JJ, what is up? I just want to give you a big hug from the other side. How are you? I love you. It's so good to see you. Gosh.
I'm good. Good to see you too.
Oh my goodness. I got to tell you, it's been a journey, and just knowing your story. And when we first talked several years ago, I remember it was against South Carolina. You guys were going to travel on the road, and I'd learned of your story. And I think at that time you were starting to, kind of work through things and become more vulnerable and talk more openly about it. JJ, why don't you take us a little bit through your story, and especially back there in 2020 when you experienced a lot of heartache, a lot of loss, and just really lost yourself in that moment, and how you rebounded and ended up here.
Hey guys, my name is J.J. Weaver, but I'm from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I moved to Louisville, Kentucky in like 2010 with my mom. But I have a lot of siblings. My father, back in 2020, he got murdered. About four young teenagers. They broke in his house, shot him and shot my stepmom, and they left my dad for that. But then I played through the season, but I was already upset, destroyed, and then I tore my ACL mid-season. So I was all dealing with a lot back then. So now I started a grieving group called The Perfect Fit. I actually was grieving hard back then when I met you too. South Carolina game, I was really grieving too then. Just once I actually found help and got the help I really needed, shout out to Coach Stoops and the whole Kentucky staff, the whole Kentucky sh- big shout out to BBN. They really helped me a lot. Just made me feel like home. Losing my father at that moment. It was my red shirt freshman year. I was really fresh to college. I really haven't. I was like going in and out. I really didn't really experience my first start at college football either. So I was really going through a lot, really grieving then, and then now I actually found help and trying to help others.
Yeah, and that's the key, is you're helping others, and because you're going to be that rock for the next person that has to deal with something like that. Go back to you mentioned Coach Stoops, but there were more people around you at that time. Just tell us immediately who wrapped their arms around you and helped you get over that massive hole in your heart and get going again, get living again. Who helped you get going?
My teammates. Um, I was a big leader. I'm a big they know I was going through. I always come smile. I'm a smiling guy. I always come in the locker room joking. A lot of my teammates recognize like this not JJ. Like something really wrong with JJ. Like he's not really smiling. So a lot of teammates came in, hugged me, told them they love me, like they hear from me, like what I really needed to hear. And that was a brotherhood to me. So my teammates, and then it was lacking in my football. I tore my ACL too, so I really was like, now I'm not on the field, now I'm not playing, so now I really need somebody else to talk to because my teammates at the time, like, I wasn't really trying to listen to my teammates because I tore my ACL. I'm not out there with you guys, so I was like, man, you guys out there, you guys don't understand what I'm feeling. So, but Coach Stoops, he lost his father too when he was in college, and he told me his experience and how he overcame a lot and how he overcame his grieving, and he told me go talk to somebody, and he helped me actually, and came from there.
I love that so much, JJ. And just to bring some context to the perfect fit, right? You've got this nonprofit organization you set up in this peer support group. So I'm going to have them roll this video that essentially kind of outlines just your story, right? Obviously, all the loss that you went through. And you see there on your right hand, you have 6 fingers. And it was something that we learned about when we went into that football game, and how you have now taken ownership of that. And what I love about this story is we shared it on ESPN. Then a 3rd grade teacher from a local elementary school writes in and tells us that she also was born with extra fingers. She has 2 students born with extra fingers. You decided to go to the school, talk to those students. And I can't help but think, JJ, that your visit to that school and your act of kindness and really helping these young children understand that it's okay to be different. Just take me through that moment and being able to give back, and your message to people out there that might feel different or feel isolated and feel that maybe they're not worthy.
Most definitely. I started a Perfect Fit foundation because like you said, when I was younger, I used to get bullied because I had extra finger, actually functional finger, like it's actually bones, it's move. So, as a kid, older kids and younger kids, they see that like that's different. So they thought it was different. So I use that as different, and I use that as motivation. Like God, my granny always told me like that's a gift from God. God gift you with that extra finger. So use it. So I was always ashamed of it, I was always scared of it. So one day me and my mom was sitting on the couch, like just venting, like I want to do something different, like the Perfect Fit, like that. So Nike ended up giving me a deal with them because they customized my glove. So me and my mom was like just fooling around, like the perfect fit. So the glove was the perfect fit because I was back there. I used to do two fingers in one. So that's how I found the Perfect Fit Foundation. And then that when I went to the school, it was different, seeing them kids that have the same similar story as me and actually go there, talk to them and like, hey, look, I was in your shoes before, man. Like, I know how it feels to be different. Like, it's okay to be different too. Like, look at me. I overcame the adversity of getting bullied on and everybody picking on me about me being different. So I was like, man, look, like I made a difference so you guys can inspire, be yourself. That's why just be yourself, and it's okay to be different for us. So that's why the motivation I really want.
We do all have our differences, but we're all so much more alike. We have more things alike than we do differences. Football season's coming up for you, and I know that makes you smile, man. You stayed around for this. Are you excited to get going on the field this weekend? A little Southern Miss action, right, in town?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm excited. This year 6 for me. Last year I dislocated my elbow, so I'm just trying to have a 100% healthy year and dominate. So yeah, I'm excited.
Love to see you back in the game.
Love to see that smile, man.
I do too. Year 6, man. You're the old Papaw over there now, huh?
Yeah.
I love it. JJ, thank you so much for your time. So appreciate it. Wishing you the best. Hopefully I'll get a game assignment this year, get to come wrap my arms around your neck. Just keep doing what you're doing. Love all the great work that you're doing with the Perfect Fit, your peer support group, and of course, all the work you do in the community for the kids and for the community. So thank you so much again for joining us, and best of luck to you this season, buddy.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, JJ. We appreciate it, man. Shatterproof is the book. It is out now as of today. It is launch day for Lauren Sisler's book. First off, on the cover, smoking photo, my friend. I mean, who took the photo? Who took the photo? Look how good. I mean, it's a great photo.
That was Diana Johnson. She took some headshots for me, and I got to be honest. Can I just tell you this story real quick?
Yeah.
So we were going back and forth on like titles and this and that, and then of course it's like, oh, what are you going to put on the cover of your book? Well, it is a memoir, and so a lot of memoirs kind of lean into like the person that we're, obviously highlighting. Well, when we were in the process of this book, when we started the process, I wasn't pregnant. And then I got pregnant, and then I had Mason. And when it was time to start getting all these pieces together, I was still very postpartum. Had packed on quite a few pounds. For for all y'all out there. 55 pounds, baby. I hit the scales at 205.
205.
Woo!
We joked because we're this kind of friend.
We're this kind of friend. We can talk about it.
I was like, finally, we weigh the same.
I love it. Yeah. So, I mean, as soon as those scales tipped, I was like, and then they're like, all right, so photo shoot. And I'm like, I just don't feel great in my body right now. I'm starting to get it back, but I will say I had that photo. It was taken several years ago, I guess back in 2019. So thank you for saying it's smoking. Hopefully I can live up to the hype and the expectations as I'm slowly but surely starting to shrink back down. But you know what? I'm owning mom bod.
I'm friends with your husband, so I could say that. I mean, we used to play golf together all the time. But Shatterproof, let's give away a copy real quick, and then we'll go to our next guest who knows a little bit about those job stealers, is what Scott Cochran used to say. We'll get to him in a second. Let's give away a book here real quick.
Signed copy of a book, and we also have some swag. We popped that up. So my mantra, fall in love with your story. That's my mantra. That's what I hold on to. And my encouragement for people is to own their stories and fall in love with their stories. So our giveaway is going to go to, we did kind of a random draw on this. Let me make sure I got to pull up my list here.
Yeah, you wrote it down.
This one is going to Melissa Williams from Virginia.
Uh-oh.
What's up, Melissa? VA. That's where I'm from. VA.
So you get a copy of the book, autographed, and you get some fall in love with your story swag right there, and that is part of the giveaway tonight. Scan that QR code when it's on your screen tonight to find out more about the book and how you can get the book shipped to you. And you can always check out the bio on any of the social media outlets of Lauren Sisler, wherever you're watching us tonight. She's got her contact information there. And DMs available and open for you.
DMs are open, my friends.
DMs are open.
Don't take advantage of it. Come at me. Give me some good stories.
Yeah,
I love y'all.
but
But
also,
I really do. I really do love to connect with people on a deeper level. So I'd love to hear from you all.
Yeah, if you've got, some people are struggling with things out there, from addiction to, depression or anything. This girl has resources to help you. So use those DMs and reach out, and she's got the resources to point you in a positive direction. Much like this guy who joins us next, Alabama fans who are watching us know him. I covered him the first part of the Saban dynasty, and for many, many years, he was the most important part of Nick's staff over there, building that roster into the machine that it became. He went and did the same thing at Georgia, and he has a story now that he's helping so many people. Scott Cochran, I got to hear it, man. When I would help out with the A-Day as a media coach, at halftime, you'd call up the special teams guy, and we still reenacted on the show. Where are my job stealers at? Where's my job stealers?
The job takers, baby.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
job takers. That was it. I love it. I love that you remember that. That's incredible.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So first of all, for everyone who is watching, the journey that you're on right now, and it's one that I'm sure Nick and Kirby, Jeremy, everyone who's ever been in your life will tell you that they're so proud of where you are right now at this point. Tell us first how you're doing and what's going on in your life for those that may or may not be keeping up where Scott Cochran is right now.
Oh, so man, I love that. I think at the end of the day, I am right where God wants me to be. Coaching was a lot of fun. I think I made a lot of impact. And through the course of it, going through coaching, I started getting migraines, and I was prescribed oxycodone, and of course the doc said this is addictive, right?
Right.
But not me, right? That won't happen to me.
Right. I'm
on ESPN. I'm on 60 Minutes. Man, I'm on the Jumbotron. That would never happen to me. I'm like invincible. And sure enough, I started on a really bad addiction, and I'm in recovery now, and I have been battling since 2020, and I have 7 months now, and
Woo, yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes,
I need
baby.
all of that.
I love it.
I need all of that. And so I started a nonprofit with a guy named Jeff Breedlove, and our the way to get us is eliminatethewhisper.com. We actually used a creative group out of Birmingham to help us come up with. They drilled us with questions and asked us, some stories, and I was just sick of talking to people on the phone. And every time I brought up our nonprofit, the AARA, and that's American Addiction Recovery Association, they would whisper, hey, I have a nephew that really struggles. And so our goal is to eliminate the whisper, save some lives and end the stigma that comes with addiction, the shame that you were just talking about, Lauren. I mean,
yeah. And it's interesting you talk about that, eliminating the whisper, right? Because let's be real, you and I both are pretty loud people. You are getting after it. I mean, you are just getting after it. And I'll never forget my recollection of you, and I tell this story every once in a while. I won't name the player, but I remember after losing a national championship at Alabama, we're in the locker room, and of course, we as the media members have to walk in there, and we've got to ask the questions, right? Well, after a loss, it's not really a lot of fun. And so we're all standing there kind of like, our hands crossed, like waiting who's going to do the first thing. And one of the players literally looked at the media and said, first person to ask me a question gets dropped. And I remember you come storming out of I think you might have taken a shower, I don't know. You had bicked your head. You had like blood running out of the back of your head. I think you had just shaved it all down. And you said, look, men, we're not going to act like this. We are going to be grown men, win or lose. And I mean, you buttoned that locker room up so quick. And I was like, wow, that was impressive. And, I saw how you commanded a room then. And it excites me so much to see this next chapter you're on because of what you've been able to accomplish on the field and now off the field. What excites you most about this next chapter and the impact that you're going to have on the lives of many?
I mean, it's really saving lives. I mean, how can you not, get excited about being a part of an organization that is literally going to help people? At the end of the day, the opposite of addiction is connection. And so what excites me more than anything is, when I'm in town, I literally go to the commencement center here in Athens and I spend time with people trying to recover. And that is like the essence of it. The organization and the nonprofit is big scale. How do we save lives? And we've got a few projects that are pretty cool, really exciting stuff. So yeah, I can't tell you, like, my excitement for this is so huge. And I know that part of my recovery is helping others. And now I'm going to do it on the biggest possible scale.
Yeah, that's what you've always done. It's always been on a big stage, loud and proud. When I first started doing Coach Saban's show, and I'd have a few moments behind the scenes with him and would try to learn about the process, I learned very quickly that you guys, and Barry Jones has confirmed this for me a couple of times, you guys put those guys, they would fill out all these psychological studies. They said, man, I can't tell you when I first got to Bama, and then every year we'd be filling out these essays and these forms, and he learned later on they were learning psychological things about us, what made us tick, and how to coach us up and how to make us better men and all of that. And you touched on something earlier, all those sheets that the players filled out, it doesn't matter what's written down there. Addiction covers every one of those sheets. It doesn't matter if you went in the A stack or the B stack or the C stack. There are people that struggle with all, whether it's gambling, whether it's sex, it's alcohol, it's pills. It hits every one of those stacks. So as a coach, how do you share that with people that no one is sheltered from this in their lives? It could touch them. It could touch their spouse, their kids. How do you attack that as a coach that loves to coach people up?
I think that's why it's so imperative that I stand up. And I think that's why God pushed football to the side, is because I know that people saw me as this excited, rowdy guy, right? But at the end of the day, I was battling with addiction. and I was struggling with addiction. And for people to see someone with the success that I've had, the championships, working for Coach Saban, then working for Kirby Smart, like working in that environment, and to see that it could happen to me, I think is going to open up. And I pray that it opens people's eyes to understand that this can happen to anyone, from the penthouse to the outhouse. It doesn't matter who you are. Like, addiction can get you if you are not surrounded by the right people, and have accountability around you.
Love that. And I just want to make note, the QR code there that's been popping up for the American Addiction Recovery Association for Eliminate the Whisper. So if you want to learn more about that organization, scan that QR code. Doing great work, Scott. I just love to hear about all the things you're doing. So here's one thing I think that we struggle with, right? So, losing my parents, I think they had this shame inside of them, right? And I think they just masked it for so many years and really kept us, their children, hidden from it, because they wanted to put on this facade, right? That things were perfect, things were fine. And my dad battled alcoholism for much of his life. And that was something we knew. But I think, really, when people kind of go into that isolation, I think that's where obviously addiction breeds, right? That's where it just comes alive. And what I want to know from you is what message you have to people that as you're experiencing whatever it is internally, that battle, and where do you find that hope in knowing, even if it's the first time, second time, third time that you're going through this thing and trying to get the help that you need, where do you find hope to keep going and know that brighter days are ahead?
Yeah, I think I like to get into a thing, the shame and guilt cycle. Some people will get a little bit of recovery time, and they'll start going to AA meetings. Maybe they go to rehab, and they think, I got this licked. I won't have to pick up, or I won't use again. And then sure enough, it's scientific. It is a disease, right? It's gonna creep back up. But you get in this shame cycle, and you just start beating yourself up and start telling you're a bad person. The guilt and shame of, I am bad, not just that I do something bad, but now I'm a bad human being. So the first thing is to find there's an NA meeting, there's an AA meeting, there's an RCO, pretty much in all 50 states, that you can go and ask for help. We're so used to, I can handle this, I got this. And I think that's where the isolation comes into play. For me, the higher I moved up, the easier it was to isolate, because I would have a million responsibilities. So people were afraid to, I'm talking about like my staff would be afraid to come, like, I don't want to put more on his plate, so I could close my curtains, I could close my door and be completely isolated. And so I think people have to know that it's okay to not be okay. It's okay that you're struggling. It's okay to ask for help. And I think part of society, and the reason why this will probably go to the passion of this, is that people are afraid. Like, if they're in the business world, they have a good job, they're providing for their family, and now they have this addiction or alcohol or substance abuse problem, they're afraid to tell anybody because they're going to get fired. Because that's just how it is. If you're come across as an alcoholic or an addict, you're gonna lose your job. I got a phone call yesterday about somebody that went to rehab, came back, relapsed, and they're about to lose their job, and it's awful. It's 2024, right? And it is proof that this is a disease, and the fact that is happening still amazes me. And so just being able to reach out and say, I need help. That's why AA, NA, all of the, SA, all of these things are anonymous, so that you can get help, so that you can walk in those rooms and you'd be surprised, The first time I walked in, I was scared to death, and I said some things about my struggle, and everybody started laughing. And I was like, man, I thought y'all were going to kick me out of here. And they were like, no, we got the same feelings. I was like, yes, I found my people. I found my people.
And that's why it's called eliminatethewhisper.com. Eliminatethewhisper.com. Anybody surprise you along the way that were not in your corner? You don't have to name names. But did everybody you really count on in your life that you thought was in your corner, did everybody stand by you, or did some people say, no, not too much, Scott, I'm not going to stand by you?
No, I think that people had a lot of fear, and some people it's hard for them to have empathy towards this. It's a tough one. It's tough for some people to have a little empathy towards someone that's struggling. And I haven't had anybody, not support me. Between my two bosses, my God, I've had great support from both of them. They've been incredible through my journey, and they're willing to do anything, and they're helping with this nonprofit, and they've been incredible. But I haven't really. I would say people are just get a little bit like, whoa, I don't know if I can, how do I? They are more scared or more worried about how to approach me.
Right.
Because they're worried that, if I drink in front of you, is that going to mess you up type of deal? And it's like, we're good, buddy. I'll leave if I need to leave.
And I think having those open conversations are important, right? And letting people know, hey, Scott, planning on going to grab a couple drinks tonight. How do you feel about that? Would you rather I don't drink? Having those, the more you normalize it, right? The more you have those conversations, I think the better off we are. And, I know we have a lot of people tuning in. We have parents, we have athletes, we have, just friends, people of the show, just different people tuning in. I kind of want to bring this to sort of the sports community, because you're around the athletes, right? And I know you had a very open door policy at Alabama and Georgia both, right? You come on in, you talk to me. How can you encourage, and specifically athletes, to really have the courage to step up when something's wrong? Because like you said, the thought is, well, I'm going to get kicked off the team. I'm going to get reprimanded for this. And it's like that, in a job setting, but for athletes specifically, what does that conversation look like? And how do you encourage people to just walk through that door and say, I need help?
Or be a good teammate and reach out and say, Coach, I think Lauren's struggling. Maybe you want to check on Lauren. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because I had players come to me in the past and didn't even know I was struggling, and said, hey, I think he's going down the wrong path. You need to check on him. It's a former player that graduated 2 years, like, hey, maybe you should reach out to him. But I think for athletes that are going through it, first off, like, my social media is public. You can direct message me and I will walk through that door with you. You do not have to walk through it alone. I will make some calls. I'm gonna know half your staff. I've worked for Coach Saban. If you worked for Coach Saban at all, I was on his staff. I was with him for 18 years, and so somebody knows somebody that knows somebody. So they can reach out to me specifically, and I can help them walk through that door. But no coach is going to turn down anybody that needs help. We all coaches got into, I know coaches, we make a ton of money now and all that stuff. But when we first started, it was to help people. It was not because the dollar sign was so pretty. We got into coaching to actually help someone. So never be afraid to go walk into that door of the coach that recruited you, your position coach, or even the head coach, because they will open up their arms for you. And if they don't, then you for real message me, because I will travel and whip there real quickly.
I love that. Scott, I want to ask you, obviously, as you mentioned, addiction, it's a disease. It's an everyday battle. I want to know from you, when you wake up in the morning and you put your 2 feet on the ground, what is it that motivates you to continue staying this course? You're 7 months sober. You've got so much ahead of you. What is the driving force behind that and the hope that you pull day in and day out, that you know that you're going to be able to walk through life and continue on this journey and make a difference?
Okay, so it's easy for me right now. I'm from New Orleans. We had a newspaper called Lanyap. Lanyap means something extra. Like, I'm on Lanyap right now. I should not be here. I overdosed in 2020. My wife found me face down, purple, called the ambulance. I am on God's time. And so for me, my motivation when I get up every morning is that I'm going to go help somebody, and I'm going to be present for my family. Because I've always been a good dad when I would compare it to other coaches, but I wasn't present. My kids were afraid of me. This would be the first time that I get to watch my son play high school football. And I'm not going to miss a second of it. Like, so for like, I'm not going to miss a game. Like, can you imagine? Maybe y'all can't imagine, but coaches, it's hard to get to a Friday night game. It's hard to get to, when he was in 8th grade, getting to an 8th grade game. Like, it's impossible, and I'm going to watch my son play. I've seen my daughter's volleyball games. I'm going to see my other daughter's swim meets. I mean, are you kidding me? Like, God's got me right where I'm supposed to be, right where I'm supposed to be. And this nonprofit's going to help with that. And the cool part you bring up about the athletes is that I'm working with a group out of Birmingham, Impact Recovery, and we're going to open up a place for athletes by next year, So we're going to have a recovery place for athletes, because if I believe that if you can get athletes to start believing in sobriety and believing in recovery, I feel like we can change the world, because I feel like athletes is what everybody looks up to.
I love that too. Impact Recovery, I actually know some of the folks behind that and sort of how that got birthed and where it is now. So, that's awesome.
I figured I could bring that up and you'd bring up Adams. So that's good.
Yes, there it is. Yes. I wasn't going to do it for you, but Adams, great guy. And, he's had, he's been a great partner, and he's done a lot of work with the Addiction Prevention Coalition, which is another partner here in, Central Alabama that provides a lot of resources and, really helps people kind of dig in and figure out sort of next steps. And of course, the prevention piece, right? It's the education and prevention along with the recovery and the hope. So such good stuff.
QR code one more time for eliminatethewhisper.com. The QR code, eliminatethewhisper.com. If you're watching us live, you can use the QR code. If you're on replay, it still works, even if this is not live for you right now, whenever you're watching this. EliminateTheWhisper.com. Scott, as we say goodnight to you, popping back up Forrester because I want his reaction. Be careful what you pray for, man, because early on in Tuscaloosa, I was starting to lose my hair, and I said a prayer one night. I said, man, I want to have Scott Cochran's hair. And dang it, now we do. Now I've got your hair.
Hey, I got one request.
That's so good.
I'm getting a copy of this book, right?
That's right.
Absolutely.
Yes.
You got it.
Okay, because I'm dying to read it. I'm dying to read it.
I'll grab your mailing address and send it your way. I do appreciate it. Gosh, it's just been amazing to watch your journey, and my ears perk up when I hear your name. You're going out there, you're doing good stuff, and man, don't lose that energy. You bring a special energy, and we just appreciate knowing you and calling you a dear friend.
Yeah. Let me hear it one more time. Where are those job takers at?
Get my job takers, baby!
Fantastic. He's Scott Cochran. EliminateTheWhisper.com.
Thank you,
buddy. Be blessed.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Scott Cochran right there. Did such good work. The book is Shatterproof. It's what we're celebrating here tonight. Lauren Sisler's book. Pictures on the inside and a lot of stories about from that moment in Rutgers before that. And then that moment. So before we continue on tonight, and we're going to be here for a few more minutes. We have a couple more guests to get to and a couple more giveaways. But you were telling your story for those that are maybe watching us right now and don't know your whole story. You were telling us about how you're a gymnast at Rutgers. You get a phone call overnight, 3 a.m., get the first plane you can. Your mom's passed away. Then by the time you land, It's not your dad that's picking you up because he too has OD'd now. 5 hours apart, you lose both parents. And you land, and it's not who you expected to be waiting on you when you got off that plane. That moment right there, you had to have a stone. You had to have somebody to swim over to and put your arms around. And I know you're a great woman of faith, but there had to be somebody there for you. So those first few moments, who was there for you?
Here come the tears.
I know. Who was there? Who was the first person there to reach out and say, I'm not going to let you drown?
Ooh. Well, as I mentioned, my Uncle Mike and my cousin Justin showed up and delivered the news. And of course, just knowing that they were going to have to watch that moment unfold and what was going to come from that. So certainly they've been a big part of my life. And you've met her, you know her, my Auntie Linda.
Yep.
My mom's sister has been such a tremendous rock for me through this process. She had 2 sons. I was the daughter she never had. I was 18 years old. And yes, 18, but didn't even know how to write a check, didn't know how to go to the bank and set I knew nothing. I was a kid. My parents always told me, focus on school, focus on gymnastics, we'll take care of the rest. And I was falling apart. My world came out from underneath me. And I remember sitting there in the garage as I thought, well, I'm just going to stay home. I'm living in Roanoke, Virginia. I'm back home, obviously for the funeral. 2 weeks after burying both of my parents, my auntie said to me, Lauren, you've got to go back to school. You've got a commitment to yourself, your teammates, your university. You've got to go back, and this is what your parents want.
Because if you don't go now, you'll never go.
You'll never go.
Yep.
And I'll tell you the journey that we were on. I mean, I'm talking fisticuffs because I mentioned shame, right? I spent 7 years running from reality because I was so ashamed of the truth. I didn't want to know the truth. So I stepped away from the truth. Mom died of respiratory failure. Dad died of, a heart attack. Because that sounded a lot better than overdose, right?
Yep.
And I will tell you that my Auntie Linda really stepped in. And while, she lovingly tried to share the truth with me and with others, she stepped in and was that rock for me. And she helped me to understand that my parents aren't defined by how they died,
Yep.
but by how they lived their lives. And I got to tell you, because of her, because of my uncle, because of my cousin, all the people that were in my life, my gymnastics team, Rutgers, I mean, so many people were there to pick me up, to throw me that life raft. And I think that encouragement and having that support system, you talk about support system, how important it is to have those people that believe in you. And I think first and foremost that my Auntie Linda looked at me and she believed in me. She knew that I could survive this thing, and she was going to do everything she could to make sure that I did. And so, I'm so thankful for her support, for her love, pushing me through it, and just everybody that surrounded me, my family, my friends, colleagues, obviously. And, having that rock was so important. And, and I just got to say this too, as I embark on this journey, it's been a wild journey. And, I loved my parents deeply. But what's crazy is it's been 21 years since they left us, and my love for them continues to grow.
Right. Because you learn more and more about the real people they were at that moment, right? You learn, the more you grow and learn about their lives and other people's lives, the hell that they were living through.
Yeah. And I think that, understanding addiction at its core, understanding what they were going through, understanding that they fought, and
they were fighting demons to still try to help you and your brother live a great life.
Mm-hmm. And I go back to one moment in time when my dad was in the hospital after he had overdosed and survived. He was living on God's time, as Cochran had mentioned. And he said to my mom, maybe you'd be better off without me.
Mm.
And that to me is, for anyone to be on this earth, try not to ugly cry here. For anyone to be on this earth and to feel that they're not worthy,
right?
That's so painful to me. And to know people that out there struggling, whether it's addiction, whatever they're dealing with, whatever they're having to overcome, I just want people to know that there's hope. Because I think in that moment, my dad had lost hope. And thankfully, he was able to get back on his feet. But then, shortly thereafter, just a few months later, he passed away. And I never want anybody to feel unworthy of this life, unworthy of the opportunity to find a quality of life, no matter how far life has got you down.
Yep.
There's always an opportunity. You are here to stand back up and get on your own 2 feet again.
That next sunrise can be anything. Just make it to that next sunrise. I try to, the guys up here make fun of me a lot, but I say I love you a lot to these people. I've told you I love you all the time. We hug all the time. We were driving around that night when I was charged with showing you around town as you were coming on a job interview. And they had told me about your parents before I got in the car with you. And they said, don't bring it up. And you'll remember, we talked about it almost the whole time we were riding around because that's just not who I am.
Yep.
We were going to be spending a lot of our time together. And I wanted to know how you were walking, you were surviving, and you were so strong then. And I think from that moment, I forget what year it was 2011, 2012. And here we are 12 years later, and you still cry about it and everything, but you're stronger now in talking about it than you were then. But you were still brave enough then that night with a guy you met for the first time, and basically on your job interview riding around town with, sharing your most inner secrets. That's such strength. That's amazing. It literally is Shatterproof, which is the name of the book. And just amazing work that you've done and you're going to keep doing. And you got a great circle of people around you. And we'll get to more of that in a second. But let's give another copy of this book away before we bring on our next guest here. We got a QR code first of how you can order the book, Shatterproof. Lauren Sisler. It is available now, hard copy. It's a beautiful book from a beautiful woman. And you can scan it right now and order your copy and get it delivered right there. And we want to throw in a gift as well. If you happen to like our little show up here, the next round, 9 to 12 daily, some of you are
Next
watching.
round right here, yes.
We're going to throw in this hat.
Little swag for you.
Yeah, right there to go with the book. And she'll autograph it and send you a message. We got a winner?
We have a winner, and it is John Spain, who is from Alabama.
John from right here in Alabama gets a copy of Shatterproof and this next trucker hat from the next round. The book's out, How I Overcame the Shame of Losing My Parents to Opioid Addiction and Found My Sideline Shimmy. If you know what Lauren does on the sidelines for ESPN, follow her on social media. She dances. When others can't find the strength to stand up, she dances. And there's some great people who are doing that kind of work in communities all over America, and I want to talk to one of those now.
I appreciate it, Jim. Yes, let us bring us in a good friend of ours, Partnership to End Addiction. Her name is Cori Hammond. So great to have you joining us today. Cori Hammond is the Director of Prevention Services at the Partnership to End Addiction, one of our great partners for this event, for this live Huddle Up. And we just so appreciate you coming in and sharing some words of encouragement and enlightening us on some resources and things that people can be on the lookout for to get help and to get some education resources to help them navigate life.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to be here. I have been watching the show since it started, and just a really incredible host of stories, just so inspiring. But yes, again, my name's Cori. I'm Director of Prevention at Partnership to End Addiction in New York City. So I'm coming to you all from Brooklyn, New York, but I'm originally from North Carolina, and I went to school at Tulane, Roll Wave. So it was fun to hear about Scott and being from New Orleans. But tonight I'm mostly going to be talking not so much about personal experience, but more so professional. My job is to take the current research on substance use and mental health and turn that into skills that parents and coaches and educators can learn to better support the adolescents around them. And so, so far this evening, we've heard so many amazing stories of resilience, and resilience is this ability to overcome or bounce back after life's difficulties. And it's not a skill that you're born with. It's not just a you have it or you don't kind of thing. Just like any skill on the court or on the field, it's something that you learn and practice over time. And so this ability to withstand and cope with troubling times is a really strong protective factor, which is these things in life that shield us and protect us from risky behavior or unsafe situations, and so much more. And so the science of prevention really comes down to this balance between risk factors and protective factors. And so many of those naturally exist in sports. So, an important point that I want to stress to everyone listening in is that sports can offer a whole host of protective factors to a young person. And I'm sure that comes as no surprise to all of you. But one of the strongest protective factors that exists is having a trusted adult mentor. And sports can really provide an amazing opportunity to introduce young people to trusted mentors, whether it's coaches, trainers, agents, alumni, whoever. And so sports also provide an opportunity to build up and practice that resilience. Lauren, what you were talking about going into the Alabama locker room after losing the national championship, you're not going to win every game. And so being able to come back after a loss like that can really bolster that ability to deal with life's challenges. And research shows that adolescents and young people they're healthier and they're more successful when they feel like they belong, when they're a part of a team, when they have a sense of connectedness. This idea that if I don't show up for practice, someone's going to miss me. People are going to know that I'm not there. This idea that people depend on you and people care what happens to you is so, so important for healthy youth development. And then, of course, the part of sports that's the most notable, just physical exercise and endorphins, good for mental health. But on the other side of that coin, we have our protective factors, but there's also risk factors that are inherent to sports as well. And we need to be aware of these. So it's come up multiple times tonight, but injury is an inevitable part of most athletes' careers. And so unfortunately, recovering from an injury is a really vulnerable time for athletes. They may be tempted to self-medicate with substances or misuse prescriptions in order to get back as quickly as possible. And so they may look for pills elsewhere than from the pharmacy to try to help speed up that process, running into the risk that they might encounter counterfeit pills that are really unsafe. Sports also require some time management skills, school, practice, homework, traveling. It's a lot. And for a young person who might not have mastered all of those skills yet, that schedule can really lead to a lot of increased stress, and anxiety and stress can be the precursors to substance use or other more serious mental health challenges. There's a recent survey of NCAA athletes that was done last year, and 45% of female student athletes said that they felt overwhelmed constantly or most every day with all that they had to do during the day. And 7% of female student athletes said that they felt so depressed it was difficult to function. And 7% doesn't seem like a huge number, but when we think about how many student athletes there are in our country, it's overwhelming. And we know that in some sports, talking about mental health and reaching out for help may still be stigmatized. Not every team has a Scott Cochran in the room waiting with that open door. We reward toughness and strength, but we don't always reward vulnerability. And so from that same survey of student athletes last year, only half of student athletes said that they felt that their athletic department prioritizes mental health. So, we've made a lot of progress, but there's still a lot of work to do. I don't want to take up too much time here, but I do want to highlight some resources at Partnership to End Addiction. All are available for free on drugfree.org. Help is available at any stage that you might be in, from having young kids and wanting to learn about prevention, to struggling with a loved one's substance use, to supporting someone in recovery. We have guides and resource centers on all types of substances if you're searching for specific information. So if you're worried about alcohol or marijuana or fentanyl or prescription painkillers, we have information to help get you informed. We have playbooks on raising resilient kids, on talking with your kids about substances, how to find treatment. We have a helpline where you can call, text, or email with a trained specialist to get answers to your questions, share your concerns, and develop an action plan. We have support groups that are led by parent coaches for those who have a loved one either experimenting with or struggling with substance use. We have personalized text messaging programs. We have guides and resources on how to best support someone in their recovery journey. So how to guide someone through relapse or make a plan when someone's exiting treatment. Partnership to End Addiction can help. And just to kind of close out this bit here, I know it can be really overwhelming to think about how to prevent substance use for young people and how to keep them safe as we move through the world, but just know that anything someone does as a parent or a friend or a coach or a caregiver to help keep kids taken care of and make them feel safe and loved is prevention. And if you're looking for guidance along that journey, Partnership to End Addiction can help. And if you're looking for resources but can't find what you're looking for, I'll make sure that you can all get my email address and you can reach out to me and I can help.
Such good stuff, Cori. Thank you so much for sharing. Very thorough, obviously, the research and everything you've done in the prevention department, and really just, talking about resilience, because there are so many factors that factor into why we turn left instead of right, and why we go in different directions and things that impact us. And certainly great work that you're doing there at Partnership to End Addiction. Do want to give a shout out to my good friend Creighton Drury. He played on the basketball team. He is the CEO of the company. He runs the show over there. And
what basketball team did he play on?
Rutgers. It was late
Rutgers,
90s.
okay.
Yeah, Rutgers.
Well, you didn't say it. You just said some basketball team. You said Rutgers.
Are you, baby? And, actually very excited about it. I have an opportunity to go talk to the student athletes there at Rutgers coming up. So really excited about it. So, thank you so much for the insight. I think it's so important for parents and athletes, because you mentioned it before, right? It's always the not me. Never going to happen to me. Scott Cochran talked about never going to happen to me until it does, right? Yep. And so I think it's so important, we put this QR code up. Go look at the resources, look at the studies, look at the statistics, and know nobody's exempt from life's difficult circumstances. And I assure you that everyone that's watching right now knows someone. They either are someone or know someone, and that's okay, right? But now it's, where do we go to get those resources? Where do we go to find the help that we need? And I think that's why it's so important to have organizations like Partnership to End Addiction, the Addiction Prevention Coalition. We talked to Scott Cochran about eliminating the whisper with his organization, American Addiction Recovery Association. There's so many resources out there, right? And, you guys are obviously working together to pour into our community. So thank you so much for sharing your thoughts, your insights, and where people can go ultimately to get the help they need and the prevention resources. We appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Help is out there.
Thank you, Cori. And that QR code is up there on the screen, and you can use the partnership there to End Addiction, and that QR code that helps you. It's on the screen there with a little heart shape there in the middle. And it really is all about, she mentioned staying connected. And for children, I've seen that in my home, how important that is, because my kids didn't have sports. They didn't play sports. And it was so easy for me. I was on a team from when I was bat boy before I could remember being a bat boy. And then I played from 5 years old on. I was always on a team. And then I was, on a team in college, and then I was in a fraternity in college. And then I went to work, and my sports department was my team. And so I've always had a team. And my kids didn't have a team, and my wife didn't have a team because they were not sports people. And to see them search at times to be connected, it was so much easier for me because of teams, of sports. And, sometimes there are downfalls, pitfalls to being on a sports team, to being so into sports, but there's so many positives involved there. We have some questions from some of our VIP guests over in the chat room, and we appreciate all of you for being with us. But Craig from New Jersey, writes in, and he asks this question: is there anything that you would like to achieve either in college football or sports sideline reporting? So away from this book, which is I would imagine a landmark moment in your career anyway. I mean, how many people can say they wrote a book?
Whew, let me tell you, being an author of a book, man, it's been a journey and a healing one at that, right? And determining when was the right time, and just so thankful for it. But, of course, being in the sports world, I will say that this book really outlines and highlights that journey, right? From where I was when I decided that I was going to switch from sports medicine to sports broadcasting, when I was flunking out of Rutgers because I couldn't keep my head above water, trying to figure out all those things. And here I am, obviously, pursuing this. And I think a lot like Laura Rutledge, who we heard from at the beginning of the show, talks about like just chasing that next thing. And what I've realized is it's not about that, right? It's not about the confetti falling on the field, the wins and losses, the championships, hoisting the championship trophy. I think the championship is won when you find purpose and meaning in your life. And truly, when I step foot on the field, and it's just like the moment with J.J. Weaver getting to tell that story. I got to be honest with you. I had 30 seconds to tell that story. The ball was about to be snapped and literally felt like I didn't get to do it justice. I was so disappointed. But all it took was 30 seconds for that third grade teacher to write in and say, hey, we've got, students. I've dealt with the extra digits on my hands, and that's what I want to encourage people, right? Finding that meaning and purpose. So it's not all about the glitz, the glamour, the lights, right? It's finding purpose. And so if I can just impact one person. And so, where I am now and where I'd like to be, I think there was a moment in time that I wanted to be at the top. I wanted to be at the very top of the ladder, right? And now I feel like I'm finally where my feet are, right? I'm taking this in, enjoying time at home with my son Mason, with my husband John, getting to soak up those moments. And then, of course, go on the road. He gets to be stay-at-home dad, and I get to be over here, traveling the country, doing the dang thing. And then I come back home, and I feel like finally, as I'm almost 40 years old, y'all, right, about to take the elevator up to the 4th floor, whoop, whoop, I feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be.
Can I say this? I think if sports broadcasting ended tomorrow for you, you'd be okay with it, because you've got a lot of work you're going to do not on the gridiron. Is that fair now?
I'd say that's a very fair statement. And I think that's really why I haven't tied my entire identity into sports broadcasting. Yes, it's a great platform. It's a great place to be. I love being out on the field. I love doing the sideline shimmy, but that's where I find my joy, right? It's the joy in connecting with people, telling stories. And I'm very thankful for just the platform and the opportunity, but also thankful for what I've learned in this process, and recognizing that, we all have a story. And that's why I encourage people to fall in love with their story, which brings me, Jim, to giveaway number 3. I want to highlight this because I mentioned to you, it is my mantra, fall in love with your story. And I have partnered with a company called Presently, and they're called Presently bracelets, and they have affirmations. And I think it's so important, right, when we wake up in the morning to have that reminder, when we look in the mirror, when we get up and we hold on to something, right? And for me, fall in love with your story, right? Owning our stories. And if you see here this Presently bracelet, and we are going to give one of these away, this particular affirmation says, I'm in love with my story. And that goes along with my mantra of waking up and owning every chapter, finding joy and gratitude in every chapter. Because look, there are going to be chapters in your story, pages in that book you're going to want to rip out, that you're ashamed of, that you absolutely just want to turn away from. But you're going to find that those chapters are just as important as the good ones, because they're the ones that are going to be the catalyst for strength, the catalyst for resilience, and ultimately be able to get you up and push you forward and make a difference in your life and other people's lives.
My grandfather used to tell me, when I would complain I couldn't go outside and play because it was raining, he said, it's the rainy days that make you appreciate the sunny days. Very simple, from a country fella. He was a miner, but he was right,
Absolutely.
I was sitting there looking at the rain and complaining about the rain, but if it was sunny every day, I'd be sitting inside and wouldn't appreciate the sunny days. And it's the same way in life. The hard parts are hard, but boy, when you get to the other side and you got the sunny days, you appreciate the journey you have. So who's getting the bracelet here?
The bracelet.
And if you say Jim Dunaway, I'll take it, because I thought you were giving it to me to start with. I was about to tear up.
Oh, it is so beautiful. I love these bracelets so much. And again, want to thank the two sisters that have made this possible, Emily and Lindsay. They also deal with, anxiety and OCD, and that's sort of why they came together to decide that they were going to make these bracelets and give people that hope. And so we did a kind of a random drawing on this. And so the winner of the bracelet and a signed copy of my book is Miss Chelsea Parson from Georgia.
Over in Georgia. So we've had
Georgia.
a winner from Virginia, Alabama, and now Georgia tonight on the giveaways. And they're getting a signed copy of your book with a little special note on the inside, maybe. And this time a bracelet.
A bracelet. And we have obviously the hat, the Next Round. Shout out to the Next Round here for letting us use your studio. It's been amazing. And of course, some of my own merchandise and swag, right?
Emily writes in and says she's so proud to be partners with you.
Yes, that's Miss Emily Stetzer. We appreciate you so much. And
Kara, Amanda, we see you over there. Great stuff in the chat room.
And I do want to give a shout out, Nancy Hans, coming from Roanoke, Virginia. They have a lot of resources as well, and they're partners with Partnership to End Addiction, and they've do a lot of great work in Roanoke as well. That's my hometown. And Karen Nichols, so proud of you, Laura. You know who that is? My roommate from Rutgers. She was the one in that photo. You want to pop up that photo, Forrester, if you can find it. This obviously us in our glory days.
Is she one of the ones that go on the Rutgers trip every now and then when you guys go to Cabo or wherever y'all go every year?
No, but I will say they were tuning in. Kelly Straka and Dawn Gill both tuning into this, always doing the fun trip.
When she would take off from work when we worked together, I was like, can I not go on this trip one time? I just want to go one time because she always showed me all these pictures.
All the pictures, all the crazy.
All the dancing.
You see Kara there in the top. She was there for me. You talk about rocks, right? We talk about people in our lives. And I got to tell you one thing about Kara. When you have those special people in your life, right? I went back to Rutgers, and she was a big reason that I was able to survive and to stay afloat and to continue pushing forward. What I later learned in this process is that she actually almost decided, she's from Maryland, she was going to go home. She didn't want to be at Rutgers anymore. She was ready to kind of hang up her career as a field hockey player. And she said because of our relationship and our connection and getting partnered together as roommates, she decided to stay. And, that's our story and our journey. So best roommate ever.
Who's the messy one? You?
I don't know, but you can ask Kara about the old Nintendo days. Y'all people out there playing John's got the new Xbox so he can play the NCAA. Kara and I, Tetris and Tecmo Bowl, baby.
Melissa in Virginia, you may have touched on this. You have been an inspiration to so many people through your journey. Who would you credit as the top 3 people who inspired and gave you the encouragement to keep going during your times of need? You've touched on a couple of these.
Yeah, we talked about Linda. We talked about my roommate. And I would say my gymnastics coach, my club coach, Lisa, but also Crystal Cholet Norton was the head coach at Rutgers. And really, she pushed me because, by the way, I'm flunking out of school. And she kind of finally, after, me flailing around for many months, almost a year of basically flunking out of school, she said, look, Lauren, we're here. We want to help you. We want to help you get through this, but you've got to be willing to stand up and take that first step. And I think just having that support system and those people behind you that are constantly encouraging and just, pushing you forward. And sometimes it's tough love, Jim, right? It's tough love because sometimes I needed that kick in the butt. I needed someone to say, hey, we love you, but enough's enough. You gotta take control here because your life is not going in the direction that you had hoped and dreamed for.
That's right. Your aunt first had to get you out of the house and send you back to Rutgers.
Yep.
And then at some point your coach had to say, get up off your butt and you got to start living.
Start living. I love it. Start living. Absolutely.
Yeah. Bo says, what kind of new dance moves will I see with a sideline shimmy this year? Bo in Virginia.
Actually, I know Bo Gravely pretty well. His wife, Kirsten, used to do gymnastics with me. And gotta love him. I tell you, just the days of traveling all over the state of Virginia for our gymnastics competitions, doing headstands in the back of the old Bronco. I remember that well. The dance moves, man. I will say, and I just want to put this out there, the sideline shimmy, I don't claim to be a good dancer, but it actually was a form of therapy for me and continues to be. As someone that gets nervous and anxious, you were next to me on the desk, palms sweating, here we go, we're about to go live.
Yeah,
the sideline
I get more
shimmy,
nervous than you, but you calmed me down because you were so nervous.
Because I was so nervous. But really, it's helped to calm the nerves and just to ground me in the moment. Laura Rutledge talked about that earlier. You got to be grounded. Sometimes you just got to stand there and count to 10. For me, it is dancing. It is feeling the joy and bringing that joy to where I'm at and ultimately giving that to others as a gift.
Yeah. The QR code up again for your order of Shatterproof, available now. It's a book that maybe will change your life. We're not too far away from the holidays. You can gift this to somebody or just give it to them anonymously if you think maybe they need it. I will go one step further. There are book clubs out there that are always looking for a book to read and share. This would be a great book for that. And very close to, I mean, you and John should work on this and maybe come up with a Sunday school version of this to work through like 7-8 lessons for a Sunday school class, because I think this could be a nice little Sunday school lesson for your local church group.
I love that. And, faith playing such a big part of that, right? You talk about the key players, the key people in there, but faith certainly keeping me grounded and knowing, the good Lord above had a plan. And while life went completely unscripted, my faith kept me grounded in that. And I'm just so thankful that he gave me the courage to put words to paper that I now can share with other people to encourage, to inspire. And I just want to meet people where they're at, right? Whatever you're going through, whatever circumstances has you down, whatever in life is creating this internal battle, this shame. I want to meet you where you're at and just show you that there is a way to brighter days. There is a way from those rainy days to those sunny days, right? And finding that gratitude is so important, and finding that as a gift. And I just want to encourage people, there is hope. And just whatever you're going through, keep fighting. You are worthy. You matter. And when you can find meaning and purpose in your life every single day when you wake up, it's going to make all the difference in the world. And I just encourage people, fall in love with your story.
Yeah. And the guests we've had tonight, unbelievable success from Laura Rutledge. And she started us off tonight saying how much she struggles daily with feeling like she's enough of a wife or a mom or an employee. And then, we moved to J.J. Weaver, his story of his dad and his stepmom being murdered, and how his smile was lost. And it was his teammates who started to notice that something's up with JJ, and it was his teammates and then his coaches, Mark Stoops, that picked up JJ. And then we get to Scott Cochran, who was at the top. He was ground zero of the dynasty in Tuscaloosa with Nick Saban when he came to Tuscaloosa to build and shape that program. And then he was with Kirby Smart over at Georgia as he was elevating his career. And then he finds himself in a place of isolation and shame with his addiction that he was battling, ultimately, being pushed away from what he thought was his purpose, coaching football. Still supported by Nick and Kirby, but pushed into a different direction where now he's actually winning championships with people who are down and out, who aren't ahead of the sticks on the football field of life. And Scott Cochran's out there now saving people and helping them battle through addiction. And then we've learned about resources tonight that are available to you for free right there tonight. So all of this, if you've missed any of it, if you're just joining us live now, it's up on Lauren's social media forever. You can go back and watch this at any time. You can copy the link and send it to somebody who may need it. Feel free to cut a piece out. We don't have any copyright issues. Cut a piece out and just send a piece of it to somebody. If there's one part of this tonight that maybe can touch you or maybe touch a friend and change their life, just clip out a little Laura Rutledge or a little Scott Cochran and send that to somebody in need tonight. And get the book, because your answer may be in this book too. Shatterproof is the book. How I overcame the shame of losing my parents to addiction and found my sideline shimmy. Lauren Sisler of ESPN. And here in the great state of Alabama.
And what a blessing it is, Jim. Thank you so much for this journey. And always share some good laughs and some good tears with you, my friend. Yeah. And I just can't thank you enough for your...
We got about 90 seconds before we wrap it up. So
okay.
give me a thought on the book being out now, because I know this was, you poured your heart into this and a lot of tears. So it's out now.
It's on pre-order. October 1st is when the official date comes out, but obviously it is out for the world to see and to get their hands on.
Yep.
And I think, when I flip through those pages, I just think about my mom and dad, the two people that could be standing here right now.
Yep.
With us. And I know that they're here in spirit. And I just want to thank them for just the ability to share their story with courage and maybe the courage that they didn't have to speak up, that I can use that to help other people speak up. And I just want to thank all of you for your love and support. I want to thank, obviously, the Next Round for being a partner in all of this. I want to thank the Addiction Prevention Coalition, who really helped me find my voice as I came here to the state of Alabama and in the addiction space. So many great resources there, and of course, Partnership to End Addiction as we continue working. And I just want to thank all the support, the love and support that I've gotten from so many people, family, friends, teammates, colleagues. I wouldn't be here without them. And
I will tell you, so many times we've done broadcasts together, and she will say after the show, she will say, "Where'd you come up with that?" And I observe things.
I used to always say he could talk his way out of a paper bag because literally this dude knows how to ad lib anything.
Okay, so we'll end on this thought here. Just an observation. In the book, the hard copy, last 2 pages are blank because you're not through writing your story yet.
Wow.
Very proud of you.
And with that, my friends, we sign off.
Good night, everybody.
Love y'all. Peace.